Director of the Source by Bank Plus. Thank you so much for choosing to spend your lunch hour with us today. We know that for working women, a lunch hour is often a very precious commodity, so thank you for sharing that with us. Thank you also to Butler Snow for welcoming us into this beautiful space. We feel very fortunate to be able to have all of you here joining us today. Attaining a balance of our work and home lives is a goal to which all of us can relate. Am I right? Reaching this kind of symmetry means something different to everybody, and the Source is so proud to have these ladies here to share their insights and experience and some advice with us for cultivating some personal and professional symmetry, flow, balance, whatever you decide to call it. Lisa Palmer is founder and principal designer of SummerHouse. I'm sure you're familiar with her place and township. Locations in both Bridgeland and Oxford. Lisa's work has recently been featured on the cover and in the pages of Traditional Home, in Southern Home Magazine and Milieu Magazine. She is currently on the board of her synagogue, Beth Israel in Jackson, has recently been honored by the Mississippi Jazz Foundation, and will also be an honoree at this year's Jackson City of Soul Awards. Dr. LouAnn Woodward's unique combination of experience as a professor, a physician, and a seasoned administrator has led to honors ranging from awards for teaching to recognition as one of Mississippi's leading businesswomen. Her professional and personal commitment to the medical center and deep understanding of healthcare in Mississippi have helped keep the medical center at the forefront of healthcare, education, research, both in our state and nationwide. Let's jump right into it, and I think we kind of talked about this a little bit when you walked in, but in your mind, is work-life balance a myth, or is it an actual goal that you can get to? Go right.
Thank y'all so much for having me. When I heard about the topic, I'm old. And I'm old and I'm old school.
How old are you? I bet I'm older.
I bet I'm older. So when I heard about this work-life balance thing, I was like, is that really a thing? So I did what anybody normally does. I Googled it. And y'all, it actually has a .com. There is a worklifebalance.com. And I had no idea that there was actually a .com. So it's like a thing. I guess I've been doing it and didn't really know I was doing it. But yeah, so I started, I graduated in 1983 and with a degree in interior design for Southern Miss. And, you know, I worked for people until I owned my own business. And after having kids, I mean, it's a struggle, no lie. It's not a myth, and I think it is an attainable goal, but it takes a lot to get there. And I think with all your questions, we're going to get there. You know, since I was a kid, I always heard all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, but of course now we can say makes Jill a dull girl, I suppose. So yeah, you gotta somehow find that balance. I know Laurel and I were talking at work, I got 2 of mine waiting for you, about the word balance, that can be kind of a myth because one little thing can tip a balance, but then again, you don't really know that you're unbalanced when that little thing is tipping the balance, so maybe that part is a balance. I do believe it is an attainable goal, and I think throughout the day we'll kind of talk about that.
So I would say it's a little bit of both. I think really it's both, and I'm not sure I would even say it's a goal because that sounds like somewhere that you land and now you've done it and that's, you know, you're through with that. I think it is an approach to life and just sort of the way that you get through the day, every day that you get through the day, and you hope in the end it ends up to be a balance, because certainly each and every day is not, but you hope that, you know, when you sort of assess things, whether that's at the end of the week or at the end of the month or at the end of the school year or whatever it might be, that there's some balance there. But there is, I think, sort of this myth that you can, you know, designate your time in percentile slots or something and make it all work out, and then you hit the goal and you ring the bell or whatever. I think it's more of just an everyday sort of how you do things. I graduated from medical school in '91. I did my residency in emergency medicine and finished that in '95, in June of '95. In September of '95, I had my first child. And then in September of '99, 48 months and 5 days later, I had my fourth child. There are twins in the middle. So it's not quite as bad as it sounds, or maybe it's worse than it sounds. But over the years, because I've had this active household and had a very active career, this kind of question is something that has actually been posed to me a good bit. And one of the things I'll share with you is 15, 20 years ago, my oldest child is 22, my youngest is 18. So he'll be going to college in the fall and joining all his sisters. And I just want to say, I did not get there. I'll be there. But 15, 20 years ago, the people asking this question were primarily young women. And in the last 5 years, maybe, it's interesting that there has been as many young men, you know, in the environment where I am. I'm around a lot of young people. I'm around medical, dental, physical therapy, pharmacy, nursing students, a whole host of students. And in the last 5 years or so, there have been as many young men asking the question. Now, what I don't know, I'll be very eager to see, is as these question askers get a little bit older and get some responsibilities, will that interest? So I think now there's an interest and an awareness with a different group of people about this whole concept of work-life balance than there was some years ago. Will that interest and awareness translate into real involvement when you're talking about the responsibilities of the family and the responsibilities outside of work and what that looks like? You know, 5, 10 years from now, will young women in a room like this, you know, will it be a different experience than it is? One of my favorite questions that I like to pose when I'm talking to people, especially men who are talking about how involved they are in their families and they feel like they are sharing the home or the outside of work type responsibilities equally, you know, with their spouse, and they're kind of on even footing and they're so proud of that. The question I like to ask is, what size shoe do your children wear? And when is the last time they got some tennis shoes? Because I guarantee you the mama knows it's 5.5, and those sneakers they bought it, you know, back in May, probably not going to make it for school year this year. But you know, so that I like to dig a little deeper and see. But in the back of the mama's head all the time is, who needs shoes? Who's got a form that needs to be signed? You know, all of that stuff. So that's kind of one of my litmus test questions that I like to put out there.
That is a great one. Well, I'll have to put that one in my pocket. Do you think this work-life balance idea is more of a male or female goal that we're searching for? And I think just the sheer number of you ladies here that have put this on your suggestion card to me, I don't know if that means that we're just much more in tune to it, or if it's something that women are striving for more than others. Lisa, you mentioned just a minute ago that you can have one little thing that might tip your life out of balance. What are some signs that your life has been tipped?
Your health, and I think that's so. Listen, stress is going to kill you. I think back on, and I have a mostly female staff, always have. I mean, I've got 5 great guys that work in my warehouse, but everybody else pretty much. And even the men that I've hired are partly female anyway. They're designers and, you know, they kind of have that flair. But, which we love. But so, you know, I've just been around women, you know, ever since I've had my own business, and even before that, when I worked for people, it's just been a lot of women. But I had a girl who was just a kid butt designer. I mean, she was so good, and she worked so hard. She worked every weekend. She worked at night. Her husband was in law school at MC while she was working for me, and she was amazing. And I saw that she was really overworking, but I didn't say anything. And she pulled me aside in our break room kitchen one day, and she said, "Lisa, I've hit a wall. I have hit a wall. I can't go anymore. I can't do anything. I'm losing my mind. I need time off." I said, "Girl, you take 2 weeks." She said, "I need 3. I said, "I'll give you 3. She says, "I'm going to California." I said, "Go." I mean, sometimes people will just hit a wall. Y'all all hit a wall. And I've hit a wall before. So I don't know. So that's actually past the point of feeling that little bit of imbalance. But I think if us women we have this gift that God gave us, and that's this intuition that we know about. And sometimes we just have to listen to our bodies and listen to our minds. Sometimes if your kids say, "Mommy, you're working too much," or "Mommy, I need your attention," and you find yourself at home and you're just doing this and your kids are tugging at you. Luckily, all my boys are men children right now. They're all grown. I mean, I graduated my last one from Ole Miss back in the spring. So, and my oldest is 34. I think I am older than you, but anyway, so they're all grown, and you know, I don't really have the kids at home. I think kids will kind of keep you in check. They really will keep you in check. And the problem I'm having now with work-life balance is that I don't have these kids at home to keep me in check. So I find that I'm working all the time. I get home, my husband doesn't really care, you know, at 8 o'clock he's like this. And I'm just going, and I'm just going, and I work till 7, 8 o'clock at night sometimes because I don't have the kids to keep me in check, and I don't have the papers that I have to sign and the shoes I have to buy and all that anymore. So I don't know how many of you have, are empty nesters, but you'll get there, and that's kind of an issue with us empty nesters is that we just want to work all the time now because to fill that void, at one point, even with my kids, I mean, I don't know if some of y'all may know, but I'm a singer too, and so on the weekends I was singing all the time, and sometimes my kids would be like, "We don't see you," and they would keep me in check. So I think kids can sometimes help you a lot. Husbands can tell you, sometimes you have to listen to your girlfriends. I mean, sometimes your girlfriends are like, "What about me? Where have you been?" You just have to listen to people because you can't see the forest for the trees sometimes. We have to have our friends and our people and our health and our bodies and our intuitions. I think all those things will kind of keep you in check.
That's something that I've never thought about. I have a question here about for working moms who feel like we're just completely in the weeds. And I had not considered the fact about what nice little alarm clocks they are and reminding you, you've been scrolling through Instagram, or you've been posting on Facebook, or you've been checking on your email. I mean, I need some me time. So that's a really interesting point. What aspects of this balance are the most challenging to you?
So, I don't know if I would say this is the most challenging, but I will tell you what I wish I had known 20 years ago. What I would like to go back to the point when I was in my 20s, so that's now 30 years ago, but and really beat into my brain to realize. And that is knowing yourself well enough to know what recharges you. It is usual and customary, I think, for women, especially when you are down in the weeds and you feel like you're drowning, to put yourself last at the end of everything that needs to be done, whether it's work-related, home-related, whatever, you put yourself last. And what I have learned over time, and like I said, I didn't realize this and I didn't appreciate this when I was younger, is that knowing what recharges you, and it's different for every single one of us, but knowing what that is, and in the appropriate interval, whatever it might be, investing that amount of time in yourself then makes you better prepared with more energy and a better attitude and, all of those things to do all that you want to do. So, I've got friends that, that run. I've got friends that, would love to just go to a movie and that's their thing that recharges them. For me, it is a little bit of time, and I have studied this about myself, and the preferred amount of time is 2 hours, but 1 hour will do it a pinch. But it's a little bit of time in my house by myself, basically, at least functionally by myself. If somebody's up in the room and they're not bothering me, that'll work too. But basically by myself, where and I call it just puttering around. It's not like I'm necessarily doing the laundry or cooking or whatever, but I'm just doing a few of those little things that I want to do. And if I can squeeze that in every week, I feel like a different person. If I don't squeeze that in, I am not happy. I'm irritable. I feel frustrated for no good reason. I just, it's that thing that recharges me. It took me a little while to figure out that recharged me. Because, there's no book where you can look it up and figure out the thing. You just have to know. And then it took me even a little bit of a longer time to realize how valuable that was for me to then be able to engage and do all the things that, everybody wants you to do, whether it's work or outside work or whatever. That took me a while to learn. If I could go back and really reinforce something with my younger self, it would have not taken me as long to learn that and appreciate how important that is. So that, I think, I try to pass that on to younger people when I'm talking to them about, know that about yourself and make that investment. It's important, I think.
Can you, ladies, recall a time in which you had to draw a line in the sand, and you had to say, I have not had my 2 hours of staring time. I need it. I have not had 3 weeks vacation to go to California. I need that. Can you recall a time where you really had to put your foot down?
There was a time after my 3rd son was born, and I was not working for myself. I was working for a gentleman, and kind of headed up the residential department in Craft Roswell. I don't know if y'all remember that way. But I started having panic attacks. It was kind of weird. And I was like, what is going on? And I think there was some hormonal kind of stuff going on. Lucky us, we have that to keep us in check too. and I was like, kind of freaking out about it, literally. But it was, not a lot of sleep, working full time, singing almost every single weekend, 3 kids, husband. I mean, it was just like a lot. And those little panic attacks said, slow down. And I mean, I know that may be what you're talking about here, but that is what did it for me. And I look back on that sometimes, and I never want to go there. So, and that was a long time ago, because my youngest is now 24, about to be 24. That was a long time ago, and it's never happened again. And so I kind of know now kind of where my top end is, in a way. And so I try not to get there. That's kind of that happened to me.
So I work in an environment where now, but even more so 10, 15 years ago, where it's more of a male-dominated environment. Especially when I was practicing full-time at the emergency department, there are more men in that specialty than women. There are a lot of male nurses in that environment, which is really, really great. But, you know, so I found myself during a lot of my years being in that environment where there were more men than women. And I don't know if I could give you an exact moment in time when something happened, but one of the things that I realized early on is that the importance of making very deliberate decisions about what you will do and won't do and how you'll spend your time. And even things from the standpoint of just setting those boundaries of okay, I can do this much, but after that much, it's not the right thing to do. And that's a difficult thing to do. Of course, I know my own world the best, but even I can easily see this translating into a situation where you have your own business and all of that. The work that needs to be done is never ending. I've told people before, it's like a jealous spouse. No matter what you give it, it wants more. You know, it's never ending work. And for people, like I'm sure all of you sitting in this room, you're excited about your work, you're excited about what you're doing, you want to have a career, you want to advance your career, you know, all of these things. There's a lot of positive energy, but you've got to be deliberate in the decision-making process about where those parameters are. Because if you wait for the rest of the world to set those parameters, you know, it doesn't happen, or else it is way out of balance of where you would want it to be.
You know what else too? I think, you know, I really feel sorry sometimes for the younger people, because with social media, Instagram, everything looks so beautiful and so perfect. And even me, I look online. I mean, if you saw my Instagram, it's not so much fashion or people, it's all interior design related stuff. I mean, and so I look at these rooms, I'm like, oh, gorgeous. And anyway, it's this kind of need to be that perfect person and that perfect life and everything be perfect, and I've got to reach this goal, and I've got to get there, and I got to have I got to be the perfect mother, and I've got to be, you know, the perfect wife and the perfect, have dinners on, I mean, these food pics of people that you know, that they've just made, and I'm like, how do you do this? I mean, I swear, y'all,
Like the precious little bento boxes.
what? It's like crazy. I feel bad for, you cannot expect perfection. You can reach for excellence, but never reach for perfection. You will end up with those panic attacks. You will end up on the ground. You will end up sick, and then you're no good for yourself or for anybody else. So just, you know, give yourself a break. I remember when I was pregnant for the first time, and somebody said to me, now I know that you love making dinners and you love it, but it's okay to go pick up some fried chicken, Lisa. It's okay to go pick up some Mickey D's. It's okay. And I was like, well, you're okay. I guess I will now. And it was just kind of this. She gave me a pass. In other words, it's okay. You know, of course, now we eat out all the time, but back then, you know, we didn't have restaurants like this now. So it just don't reach for that perfection thing that you just see. You just have to get rid of it. It's just not attainable.
I'm curious to hear if you think that these are a help or a hindrance in the work-life balance, because on paper it looks good. You know, you're able to, you know, go pick up your kids early or go to a play or something, and you've got your phone with you if it happens to be at 3 o'clock instead of 5 o'clock. But, you know, is in actuality, in execution, is it doing more harm than good?
So I'll make some comments on that. And, you know, I think it's both, really. I mean, it's a new thing, or it's not new anymore, but it's new, a way to communicate and stay in touch, and that's a good thing. I mean, on one hand, that's really great that that you never have to be that far away, either from your family, your work, or whatever, all of that. But there's definitely a downside. I mean, you just have to find the right level of engagement. I think that something so important that we need to all be teaching our kids is that it's okay every once in a while just to put the thing down and to get away from it, to get away from all that immediate response that people are now trained to think is normal. So, I remember 20 years ago when somebody at work would actually send a memo to you, and you'd get it, and you'd read it, and a couple of days later you'd respond. So the sender would get a response in a week, and it's not urgent. It might not even be important. Now, that same message can come across an email at 8:05, and at 9 o'clock, if you hadn't responded, I'll see that person on, did you get my email? Well, no. I might not even read it till the end of the day. It's okay. It's not, the upside is we do have immediate access, and there are some real benefits to that. But the downside is we think everything demands an immediate response when, it doesn't. My girls, of my 4 kids, 3 are girls, and one of the things as they were, especially in those middle school and early high school years, that's so hard for kids, one of the things that I would try to tell them is, you don't have to have an immediate reaction to whatever drama's going on, in their social media world. You don't have to have an immediate reaction. Leave it alone. By tomorrow, people will have moved on. People forget, they move on. It's not important. So I think the real benefit is that ability to be connected, and I love that. I love the fact that I can text one of my kids right now, and probably in the next 20 minutes they respond. There's one at camp, and it's a 3-week camp, and they can't have their phones, and she's so happy about that. So I know she wouldn't respond, but the other ones would. And that if there's something going on at work, I can hear immediately. But I think we've got to, for our families and the sanity of the future generation, help them understand that everything doesn't require that immediate reaction and immediate response. I try, to the degree that I can, to cluster things, to cluster when I look at email, to, like I said, those lists running in the back of your brain. Somebody had a final exam today, and rather than a lot of text messages back and forth about how the final exam went, when I'm trying to have a conversation with somebody else, I let that one know. I'm going to be in my car at 11 o'clock, and I'm going to give you a call. We'll talk for 5 minutes. So that way, there isn't that urge to look at that text message every few minutes. So I know I rambled on a bit there, but really I think it is both. And whether how crazy it makes you, I guess I'm starting to say whether or not it makes you crazy. I think it makes us all crazy. But how crazy it makes you, I think, is how much you let it determine your cadence of reaction and responses, and how much you engage just on a second-by-second basis, or whether you cluster things.
The iPad, iPhone, whatever you use, so if you take work-life balance, that social media is great for my work. My girl Laurel right over here is like, she's the queen, right? She's amazing. Thank God for her every day. So if SummerHouse is not on social media, we're not relevant in today's market. So that is a good thing, to have this instant information going out to people about whatever we're doing, or thank God they're interested. And she does such a beautiful job. So yes, it's great for me, and for somebody who didn't have it while I was in this business. I spent a lot of time, I would have to put on my advertiser's hat, and I spent a lot of time, working on advertising, whereas now I've got somebody who can just send out a tweet, or, so that makes my life actually a little easier, okay? So that part is good. Thank you, Laurel. Life. So the life part, I'm with you. I mean, and I think everybody can attest to the fact that knowing where our children are, you know, hearing about, like when you've grown children, hearing about what they're doing, and you get to kind of talk to them instantly, and that kind of thing is great, not having to just stand by a phone. I mean, that part is great, so yeah. But also, on the work part, when you get emails, I mean, do y'all ever sit down, I'm sure every one of you are working women, but you get to your job the next day and you've got 50 emails. I mean, all of a sudden, my blood pressure is like that, right? So that part you do, you have to prioritize and categorize and decide what you have to do now. I'm a lister. I don't know if y'all are, but y'all look. I mean, you should see this. I mean, I'm a very messy lister, but I have things like I list constantly. I literally could wallpaper my office with every single day with the list that I make. Because if I don't list, and I do that with emails too, like I will forget things because our brains can only take so much. And I think even 20-somethings are going, I can't remember what I used to can remember because we just take in so much information. I don't think our brains are capable of taking in all this stuff anymore. But so with emails, you just, like you said, you just have to categorize it, and that keeps you a little bit more in balance. Categorizing these emails because they will get crazy. But you've got programs that can do that. So if you don't, get somebody who knows technology better than you that can kind of categorize that for you.
If you don't have the kind of workplace culture that you think is going to be most beneficial for you, that you think is really going to help you balance your work and life, are there some things that you can do to talk to a supervisor, or are there some changes that you can make in yourself and in your work environment to improve that?
So, I'll give a little bit of an example. I think, you know, there are some situations that are just toxic and the best option is to get out. But aside from that, I think there is so much to be determined about your day by what you bring to work every day. So I'm going to give you an example, and this is a little bit of an extreme example. So every work situation is not like this, but I think it makes the point. When I was a resident in training, so I'm working full-time in the emergency department, I'm in my training period, and you get to that point where you're observing and you're just kind of seeing what's going on. In the emergency department, you see the good, the bad, the ugly, and in intense forms, you know, the really, really good and the really, really bad and the really, really ugly, and all within a few hours. So it's a great place to just observe some components of human behavior. It's fascinating. But one of the things that I noticed as I was getting a little bit past the point in my training of being completely consumed by the patient in front of me and starting to notice more of workflow and how people interact and all of those things, I noticed that there could be tremendous shifts in the day at 3 o'clock and at 11 p.m. So what happens there is, at this time, everybody in the emergency department, the respiratory therapists, the nurses, the people that check in the patients, the residents, everybody worked a 12-hour shift, 7 to 7, 7 to 7, 7 to 7, except the attending physician, who worked 7 to 3, 3 to 11, and 11 to 7. So at 3 p.m. and at 11 p.m., one person changed. There might be 60 people there working. If it's Monday, it stayed Monday. If it's a full moon, it's still a full moon. If it's hot, it's still hot. You would not believe the things that people blame what's going on in the emergency department, you know, whatever it is, phase of the moon, etc. Nothing changed except that one person. And I could see something from 2 to 4 go from a chaotic environment where you felt like things were barely under control to completely lockdown, control, calm, or vice versa. Now, like I said, the emergency department in the beginning is not really, reflective of the normal workplace. It is a little bit of the extreme. But what I saw over and over again was what a difference that one person made in the entire place. So, like I said, there are, I know that there are circumstances where it's a toxic situation or whatever it might be, and your own personal input might not make that kind of difference. But I really believe that even in circumstances that are much less extreme than that, what you bring in every single day and how you approach your work and your interaction with people makes a tremendous difference. And I think that people don't realize what a difference one individual can make and does make every day. And it's one of those kind of things where I think also we tend to think, I'm not in a good mood today, I don't like how my hair did, I'm not comfortable in this dress or whatever, so, I'm kind of over there today. I don't really want to have an impact on people. As opposed to the day when you're feeling really good and, everything went right so far and you're happy and chipper and you're glad to be an influence on other people. I just don't think everybody realizes that, in fact, no matter where you are on that spectrum, in some way or another, you are influencing other people just by, yourself and what you bring forward. I have heard people say, and read books. I love to read books on all kind of things like this, but I've heard and read people say things like you have to really compartmentalize. And when you're at work, you're just at work. And when you're at home, and not to blend the two together. And unless somebody just has the most boring home life ever in the universe, I don't see how that could actually work. I think that's just not possible. All of the activities that are going on in your life, whether you're singing on the weekends or whatever it is that you're doing, all of that, all layered together, really makes up who you are and what you're doing. But when you are, the way that I try to approach it is wherever you are, give that your energy. You were talking about trying to be on the phone and the kids sort of pulling on your arm, and where that energy is divided, and you can't always do it. But even if in the back of your mind you've got all this stuff running and your lists are running and you're thinking about these things, upfront and personal and what you're doing, if you're making a conscious effort to focus your energy on where you are and what you're doing, I think that makes it easier to kind of be conscious and be aware of the fact that whether you want to or not, you're having an impact on some other people.
Mm-hmm. I'll never forget when I spent this 11 years at Croswell, Bill Croswell, and I've said it before, I think I was interviewed for a paper or whatever, and he was sort of my mentor. And one thing I learned, I don't know how many people here own a company or own their own business or whatever? Several? Okay. Well, and this goes to people who work for a company or own a company. The attitude that you bring it's infectious, and it will create the way the rest of the people feel. When Bill would come in, I noticed this, when Bill would come in a bad mood, everybody was in a bad mood. When Bill came in a good mood, everybody was in a good mood. But when I made the decision to own my own business, I said, I'm never going to be that way. I'm always going to create.
Bad mood Bill.
I'm going to create a happy culture in my place of business. And I tell my people, they can quote me right now, I know, that I always say, if you're not happy here, what do? Go sell shoes in the mall. And I say that because I think that would be the worst thing ever. I'm not, if anybody here sells shoes in the mall, I'm so sorry. But to deal with other women's feet, I just don't know. But I always said that would be on my grave, but my headstone. But I tried very, very hard to create a happy atmosphere and a happy culture. especially since we are in kind of a service industry and we're dealing with customers and clientele, who would ever want to greet anybody with a hello, how are you? I mean, it's infectious, even in anything in life. I mean, if you're at your synagogue or your church or your women's group or whatever, and you want to be around people who smile and you want to be around people who are happy. And I know you talked about it's very hard to compartmentalize what's going on in your home life versus what's going on in your work culture, your work life. But I tell people this who work for me, when you cross that SummerHouse threshold, you are to leave your problems. You enter that and it is gone for the time being. When I designed our upstairs space where we have our resource library and offices, there's not a door to anybody's office. It's all open. I don't have a door. You come in and you talk to me if there's an issue. We'll get it, we'll hash it out, we'll talk about it, and then it's done, and then you can leave. So in my office, we can talk about that stuff. And we do, and we talk a lot, some serious stuff in my office. But then it doesn't get out after that. It's not, I think happiness is infectious. Bad moods are infectious too. So individually, if you can create, I had an English teacher at Hines one time, I took a class at Hines, English Lit, that said, go out and hug a tree. And she said that, I know that we're like, what? But she said that because it will, I don't know, to her it made her feel better. But just do what you have to do to make you feel better. And it will make all the people around you, and it will change the things around you. Maybe that'll help your work-life balance.
I would love to open up the room to a few questions from you guys. Does anybody have a question?
Yeah. There's an increasing movement of people working from home. I mean, my husband and I both have gone from being in office to working from home. We also have little. And so what would be the advice that you give to somebody who, like right now we're in the summertime, so our kids are at home a lot. How do you balance that? Because there is no threshold to cross over.
I think that would be hard for me. They have in bigger cities, they have these WeWork places where and I think they have one at Dooling.
Yeah, there's several in the city. There's Coalesce and there's...
Yeah, so maybe there's, and I don't know if they have aftercare, if they have like daycare there, but that would work great for you, where you can actually take your kids. I know in bigger cities they have, places where you can also bring your children, but I would just try and at least get away a couple hours a day for you and your husband to go there and work so that you can kind of cut that off. I don't know how I could do it. That would be difficult. I don't know that I could even concentrate because I think my mommy mode would take over too much to concentrate on that. But if you can do it, and yes, I know people are doing that. They are working from home. Technology is making that, perfectly fine to do that. Yeah, I don't know.
And the only thing I would add is if you are both doing it, if there's a way that you could tag team sort of the emergency response individual for the morning is you, and for the afternoon it's that, or something like that. Because you have to carve out some space to focus on what you're doing and do the work.
Anybody else? Yes, Katie.
Do you think having a female boss is better or worse when you're trying to attain better work-life balance online?
So, I have had mainly male bosses. And my experience has been that it's not about that. It's really just about their own sense of priorities and their own sense of sort of the wholeness and importance of family, etc. So from my own experience, it really has not been gender specific it's more about their own values and what they bring to the table.
But we are female bosses. And I think.
We think that's great.
We think that's great.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I have a designer now, she has to leave 30 minutes early so she can get home and, you know, go to the daycare and not be penalized. Well, I guess a man would understand that, but I certainly understand that. You know, I also understand, you know, every month we kind of don't feel so good sometimes. I mean, I understand that. Why do you go to a female gynecologist? You know, she gets it, right? So I think sometimes we can, but I've had male bosses that I can't really talk to them about anything like that, like I just mentioned, but I think they get things, especially male bosses who have daughters, they get that. I don't know. If they don't get that, I wouldn't have that. I would leave. To be empathetic to, they shouldn't be a boss. I mean, I think they need to be empathetic to a female perspective and a male perspective, and I would, for Christmas, I'd give them a book about it. You know, if that was the case, and they just need to understand that they just need to be better at it. You know, but I think we make great. I think I'm a great boss.
I can tell you.
She's the wind beneath my wings.
Anybody? Yes, ma'am.
What are the resources you would use when you feel like that you are reaching that tipping point that you talked about? Like, how do you reach out to your husband or family or friends or even a coworker or your boss? Like, how do you get the help that you need to come back in the house?
I'm sure, I know that, listen, when Mary Stratton said, we're doing this topic, and I went online and Googled that, like, you can find a lot of information online, books, I'm sure there's tons of books, but if you've got any kind of female support group, or just your pastor, I think would be extremely understanding about what you can do. And to me, if you don't have a boss that would understand that, you know, I hope that you would. I certainly understand when people get to a point where they've hit that wall. But I think maybe your girlfriends, if your mom is still around, or you just have to talk about it. Don't hold it in. Don't deal with it on your own, because then that will just even create more stress. It really, as females, and I'm sure men get this too. I've got 3 boys. One of my oldest child, Brian, he is an overachiever. Always has been an overachiever. He works way too hard. I talk to him often about it. You need to scale back, calm down. You need to take a break. But females, we just feel like we can do it all, and I think we all understand each other. We hold each other up. Some of the best friends you'll ever have are your girlfriends. Just grab onto those girls, go have a glass of wine, or 2 or 3, and talk it out. Just talk it out. You cannot hold it in. You gotta talk it out. That would be my recommendation.
And I think, I would agree. I think having friends, especially girlfriends, that you can really talk to about things, it's like therapy, really. I mean, it really, really is. And that's one of the things that when you have young kids and you're young in your career, it's hard to put spending a little bit of time with your girlfriends at the top of the list. It's hard to make time for that. But having those people that can be a sounding board for you, I think is very good. One of the things that, often on my phone in my little notes section, I have some just sort of motivational things that I put there and will look at every once in a while. And one of the ones that I would frequently look at was more joy, less guilt. I think there's no guilt in the world like mama guilt. And it is mainly self-imposed. I mean, it really is a terrible emotion that can be so powerful, and it's by and large self-imposed. And if you get to a place where you realize it's okay for you to invest, whether it's lunch with a girlfriend or whatever it might be, you know, morning at the park while the kids are playing, you have a chance to sort of have a conversation, but you have that ability to invest in yourself just a little bit emotionally. It really pays off, and you shouldn't feel guilty about that. It's hard to do. It's hard to make time to do that. Sadly, you have to get older like us to realize how important that is. But listen to us. We really mean it. It's serious.
Okay, let's take one more question. Yes, Margaret.
This is sister-in-law, y'all, and I think she's doing a great job with this. When you're like struggling with work-life balance and kids at home and work, how do you let your kids know the importance of work without sounding like that's your commitment?
That's a great question. My boys, okay, it's a good thing and a bad thing. I always worked. I've always worked ever since they were born. I've just worked, and I've worked a lot, and I've worked different things. You know, I have my music career, and then I've got this career. I've been an entrepreneur, and I've worked for people, and so and they're great kids. I never had, honestly, gosh, like seriously, like they were great kids. They now are on incredible paths career-wise, and I'm such a lucky human that has happened. So when I say it's a good thing and a bad thing, it's a good thing that they saw their mother find that work-life balance, and you know, they saw that it was attainable to a point, you know. But then I think it's hard because what they expect now from a girlfriend or a wife, and actually my youngest from his boyfriend, So they expect a lot, kind of. I'm not saying I'm all that. No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that what they expect is somebody that can be a career person. And so I have to tell them, you know, cut her some slack. You know, she can't do it all, and you know, kind of have to do that sometimes. So. You know, it's sometimes a good thing and a bad thing. Not all women can do all that. I mean, some women, their goal is to be a mom, and that's an incredible goal. I mean, that's like amazing. To be a mother is the most amazing thing. So, and maybe they don't want to have a career, and that's fine too. That is the best. That's an incredible career. So, you know, sometimes it's a good thing and a bad thing. Does that make sense? I don't know if I got that across.
The only comments I would make about that is, I think they get to the point, you know, even when they're young, that it's okay for them to understand why you're doing what you're doing. You know, I've worked a lot of weird hours and nights and all kind of things, but they knew that it was because I thought it was important to be there and take care of patients and that sort of thing. So if they understand maybe why it's important to you, what you're doing, and that you are excited about it. You know, when I would get home, they used to love to say, "What did you see today?" And I'd say, you know, I try to weave in some life lessons. There was a person who didn't have on their seatbelt. It was a really bad car wreck, and you know, or you know, that didn't do their homework. And, but I think if they understand why you are doing what you're doing, and especially if they see that you are passionate about it and have some joy in what you're doing. I think
And
that's
I would come
important.
home and say, this person had a very unfortunate living room.
That would lead
Ladies, thank you so much for being here. This was wonderful. I know I picked up so much wisdom from you all, and I know you guys did too.